The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
Well, Brevard, I would say when they watch some video on the Carson-Newman Eagles that they're going to say, wow, we got a chance. And, they've been beat up a couple of times this year, but they're playing a whole lot better. They're improving every week, which is probably a great compliment to Coach Hamilton and his staff. And so they'll do some things that we have struggled with, cut blocks and getting mauled at the line of scrimmage, and so we're going to have to play differently than we played. And they always have getting us fit defensively. They line up in a 50 defense and play fundamental football and not be too fancy with anything. Just try to out block and tackle you, and that's and I'm sure that's what we're up against this week.
What about the job Paul Hamilton does there?
Unbelievable job. Coach Hamilton I've been an admirer of his ever since he's been at Brevard, because he takes less and does more with it than anybody else in the conference. And I'm not talking about players. He's had some great players, but I'm talking about probably with some of the things that he has to deal with administratively that probably not anybody else in the conference exactly has to deal with the same way. We've all got our own problems and our own limitations, but every time he just takes whatever they hand to him and just keeps on ticking. So
how do you rely on faith after what happened over the weekend?
Well, I mean, that's when you do rely on faith. If your faith is conditional, then you're in trouble, because there's always going to be some things happen in your life that will take away some of your self-proclaimed I can see it so I can believe it attitude type things, and if we have to see it before we believe it, or if we have to have good things to happen before we adjust to how we respond, then we're going to be in trouble, because that's the old devil's playground there. That's his whole scheme, always has been. I'll make you think you're something, and then once you find out you're not something. And the Lord comes along and says, with me, you're everything. And so you trust me and you got it. So nothing's changed on that.
Brevard, Tyler Gregory, a freshman quarterback, kind of got thrown into the fray there. What's he bring to the table for the Tornadoes offensively?
Well, he can throw and run. He was a great high school football player. Was a player of the year down there in Georgia, and so we know he's got the tools to do it. And it's probably one of the reasons why they're getting so much better is because he's getting better. He's getting a little bit more adjusted to the fire of college football.
Is there something that you mentioned, their defensive looks? They lost a lot from last year's club. Is there an individual that stands out to you?
Well, they got a couple of linebackers. They always have had, but they've got a couple of returning linebackers, and they're making plays again. One's outside, one's inside, and they're doing the things that people have had a lot of fun doing against us, running linebackers and making tackles. And so we're going to have to find out some way to block a linebacker in our scheme, and we've always been pretty successful with that. In the last 2 or 3 years, we've struggled some with it, but we've still managed to make them make the tackles 6 or 8 or 5 or 6 yards down the field, and so you can live with 5 or 6 yards, but you can't live with 2 or 3 yards, and that's kind of the position that we've been in a few times this year.
What's the biggest point that you stress to get better on from last week?
Well, I'd say it's we're a very young football team in some places. The number one thing that jumps out in my mind, of course, is the attitude, and I've really enjoyed coaching this football team from the perspective that I've not had to be a juvenile director, juvenile delinquency director in the middle of a ball game and say, hey, you don't act that way, you don't do that. Keep your mouth shut and play. That's only happened twice, I think, all year. Last year, I was majoring in that with a few guys. And so even suspended some people because they couldn't do what we were asking them to do. Because you don't win ball games with your mouth. And you don't win ball games with a sorry attitude or with a defiant, I got my ideas and my way of doing it better than you do, coach, or you do, team. And so the defiance is what gets you beat. And so I'm really proud of this group of kids for that reason. And which means that I know we can build on that. And I know that we can continue to get better with that. And so our theme is the same theme always, let's get better. Let's block and tackle better. And let's do it like we're told to do it and like we're coached to do it. And, specifically where we're struggling a whole lot is up front, defensively and offensively, up front. And, it all starts on that level. If that level don't get it done, then that second level's not going to get it done. That third level's in trouble because it just snowballs to that way. And so we've got to get a whole lot better up front, and that's where we're struggling a bunch right now.
Where do you see the team's attitude in a situation like this? You had the LR game last week, fall break, and then you get a team that on paper hasn't won yet, doesn't really wow you on paper, and you have Newberry coming in here next week. How do you ensure that the attitude is focused solely on Brevard this week?
Well, first of all, I didn't even know who we played next week, so that don't matter. And that shouldn't matter to them. If it don't matter to the head coach, it shouldn't matter to them. The only thing I know is that we play Brevard this week. And if they think that we're invincible, just look at the last week's game and see, how limited we are in the way we played. And so we're not very talented in places, so we got to play our hearts out. We got to go wide open, and it can't be every once in a while. It's got to be every play. Which play is not important? Which play can get you beat? Any of them, And so you got to play every play. You got to play any play hard, because any play can get you beat, and so. And vice versa, any play can win a ball game. So you got to play every play as if that's going to be the play that wins the ball game. and we're very, very inconsistent right now. There's two things that we're not doing well. We're not blocking and tackling well, and we're not very consistent in playing together as a unit. And so consequently, we get one guy break down on kickoff return, we give up a kickoff return for a touchdown. We get one guy that don't block the way he's supposed to block on punt protection, and we get a punt block. And so we just got to consistently do it. Did they want to do that? No. They just got to be so geared up to get it done that they don't let that happen. It's got to be an urgency involved in it.
What do you do as a coaching staff to ensure that you are a little bit more consistent? I know that you made some personnel changes to the kickoff unit earlier in the season. What do you do to ensure that they are more consistent across the three phases? Well,
we're playing some people too much. We need to play more people. That's one thing, because they get tired. And we're asking some people to play on two kicking units and play every snap on defense almost. And that's unfair to them. And they still should do it. They still should be able to do it. I'm not saying, there's people that fight wars without arms. And there's people that do some great things without an arm and a leg. And so come on, what's our excuse? We don't have an excuse. But we certainly have got to get a little more urgency about, every time we're on the field, that's an opportunity to make some good news. Let's go make some good news. Let's don't make bad news. Let's make good news.
A guy like Trayshawn Ward kind of embodies that. His size doesn't necessarily wow you as a wide receiver, but he does have great speed, and he's overcome a lot since he's been here. What have you seen from his maturation from the time that he stepped on campus to now him being a senior?
Well, a whole lot. He's matured a whole lot. And and has become a better team player and has matured a whole lot, has grown a lot spiritually. But there's times when he still is doing Trayshawn's thing and still the Eagle thing, and there's times when he don't he don't play wide open like he needs to play wide open. And so, the thing that a back or a receiver that don't get the ball in their hands all the time has to guard against is that's the only time I have value is when I have the ball in my hands. Well, that's baloney. And that's rotten baloney too. On top of that, and so you got to play. You got to play regardless. Regardless of whether the ball is in your hand or your backside or you're in the middle of things or you're decoy or whatever. You got to play.
You brought up consistency as a unit. Is it just about breakdowns on any given play, or is it a bigger concept?
Well, there's some of a little bit of everything. You name it, and we've done it. We're pretty good at shooting ourselves. Sometimes we shoot ourselves in the head, sometimes in the heart, sometimes in the foot, but we shoot ourselves. And so, it's just a matter of getting 11 people to do it like it's supposed to be done. But we got a great opportunity. We got a great opportunity to improve. We're halfway through the season. We're not rookies anymore. We're a veteran football team now because we got 5 games under our belt. So let's act like it, and let's go play like we can play.
How do you hope a day off or fall break helps this team?
Well, I hope that we do some good, honest self-evaluation. And number 2, I hope some guys get well physically. We're playing with a half-cocked gun right now, or a half-loaded gun, or how you want to say it. I guess a cocked gun is a cocked gun if it's got bullets in it. We're playing with half of our bullets right now. And so we've got to play, we got to play with some of the self-evaluation of saying, I got to up my level. I got to get better. And I hope that, that maybe we can get a couple more guys on the field to get some guys rested that's not been able to get much rest.
You got 2 of the least penalized teams in the country going together this weekend. Have you called the officiating crew and told them to just leave their hankies at home?
Well, I'll let you handle that because I know you got great influence. So usually when I think that way, just like I think the only time I've made any statements to officials about being concerned about something was the game we got penalized 10 times, I think. So I'm not going to say that we're concerned about anything anymore. So,
what about the discipline though? Brevard, seemingly last 5 years has been in the top 5 among the least penalized teams. What's that say about their discipline?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a great compliment again to their coaching staff, and because it's real easy to be frustrated, especially in their situation where they haven't won a ball game, to get frustrated in the course of a ball game and want to push somebody or cuss somebody or do something, and that stuff snowballs in a hurry. But they don't let that happen. So it's another strong, impressive thing with their football team.